you know who made it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast. Today, we are joined by a very, very special guest, Zulf Ali, who is the CEO of York Medical Group. Zulf is a seasoned leader whose career is defined by a passionate commitment to growth and transformation. With a keen focus on harnessing technology, he has made significant impacts across both the public and private sectors. His experience spans from working with some of the world's largest companies to nurturing tech startups, where he skillfully blended vision with strategy to inspire teams towards achieving collective goals. Today, we're going to find out how Zulf has been able to do that, and especially working within the technology and medical sector. And just to let you know, he's a close personal friend of ours, and we've worked with him for a very numerous years. So it's been long overdue. But Zulf, welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a delight to see both of you sort of grilling me for a change rather than me grilling you. It's wonderful to be part of this, and I've seen some of your previous episodes, and what wonderful opportunity it is to just chew the fat about success.
So Zulf, tell us, what do you define as success? What does success look like to you?
Success is a multifaceted. A lot of people consider success as to be financial, and I think success is much broader than that. I think success is a source of joy, happiness, family, community, connection, and we have to look at success not just through the lens of finances. And I think so often, when you consider success and successful people, you just look at them from a financial perspective. And for me, it's a much broader element of that. And for someone that's sort of grown up as a first-generation migrant into this country, and learning sort of English as a second language, and having to find my way into leadership positions, for me, success has been sort of climbing that ladder of successes in the work that I've done as well. And from where I came from, I had no idea that I would end up being a chief executive. I was a young kid from Kashmir that turned up with not even be able to speak the language, left school with the reading age of 8, had no prospects of going to university, but found my way to get there. And my career has been interesting and innovative to get me to the place that I've got to. And if when I look back, I think, how the hell did I find myself here? So yeah, I think I've achieved a modicum of success in my life, but I also have a wonderful family. I have wonderful friends, and I'm able to contribute to success. And I've been able to give advice to you too on the odd occasion when we've been, and I consider that as part of my success, the fact that I'm able to give some guidance and support to others that want to be successful in their careers as well. So it's a multifaceted approach.
So Zulf, I just want to take it back to you as yourself as a young lad, and growing up as a first generation Brit family with Kashmir. And who was your role model growing up? Who inspired you to be, to become the person that you are today? Was it family? Was it? Did you have celebrities that you thought, oh, I'd love to aspire to be there? And what was your dreams growing up?
I've always when we first arrived in this country, it was 1971. It was a very different world. I lived in Rochdale. I still live in Rochdale. And when you think about inspiration, it's very hard because we live in a world of digital, and there's lots of personalities everywhere, wherever you look. So when we sort of grew up, our inspirations were just those people that were ahead of us, one generation. So my elder brother or my elder cousins, because we didn't really have the cult of personality at the time. We didn't have the Richard Bransons of the world. My parents were they were migrants that didn't speak any English. So we were the first ones that went to school, and, we met the very first sort of teachers, and we met So my first inspiration were actually teachers. My maths teacher was a guy called Mr. Taylor at my middle school. And he was the first person that ever taught me how to count in a different language. And it was those sort of glimpses into something different that sort of changed my perspective on things. Wow. And my French teacher, who was always talking about places to go and places to see. And when I turned 18, I jumped on a train and did interrailing. I went around Europe. And it was I told my parents I went on a school trip. I forged the signature and everything, so I could just disappear for a month without anybody knowing. So I traveled around Europe and I got to see the world firsthand myself. And when I came back, I realized that you can seek inspiration from many places and many different spaces. It doesn't have to be a one thing. And my dad was always a great inspiration for me. So someone that turned up at a country without a second language. Yep. He found with only a piece of paper, he found himself from landing in London, hitchhiking all the way to Rochdale and turning up at the door that he had the address for, with a shilling in his pocket, and built not only his family but a successful business, and he made sure that we got everything that we needed as children to grow up in what was a very poverty-stricken environment at the time.
Wow. And so, could you talk us just more about through your journey, like how you ended up in the field of MedTech?
Yeah. So when so maybe I'll go back a little bit. I ended up working in sales when I graduated from university. I did a degree in sociology and history. That was the only degree that let me on, if I'm honest. I did a very specific course called the Black Access course in Hume. It was designed for students from the Black and ethnic minority communities that didn't have A-levels, that didn't have sort of GCSEs, but had potential talent. And it was a link course to Manchester Polytechnic. And we did a year's course, and it was I think there was about 12 of us, all from Black and ethnic minorities, from Moss Side and Hume and places, and we all got a place onto Manchester Polytechnic. And so I did a degree in sociology and history. And when I left university, I was, so what do I do next then? and I sort of got into sales. I was always been a pretty good talker. I always had some sort of leadership qualities. When I played cricket, I ended up becoming the captain of the cricket team. When I played basketball, I ended up being the captain of the basketball team. We started a breakdance crew when I was 16, and I became the leader of my breakdance crew. So I've always had these leadership foisted upon me. I didn't always want to be the leader, but people suggested that I should lead. So I've always had this natural confidence, and when I went into the world of work, sales seemed to be the place that I could potentially exercise myself. And so I started selling radio advertisement. Is my first ever thing that we ever did. Was the first Asian radio station had my license, my name on the license. So Asian Sound Radio, I'm one of the founders back in the day. When we sort of went our separate ways, I got into selling franking machines, which were these little things that put red blobs on envelopes. Then from that, I started selling tagging systems for security. Then I got a job in telecoms, working for Cable and Wireless. And so I got into the tech space purely through that sales channel, and I realized that actually this is a really interesting and innovative space. And while I wasn't a techie, I understood the conceptual elements of technology and what potential opportunities that it would alert itself to. Which then lent itself me to starting my very first business, which was in 2001 when the World Wide Web and techs were really, really climbing into some spectacular spaces. So I was right there right at the beginning of the tech revolution, I suppose.
Now, so the next question I wanted to ask, I mean, just from what you've told us to begin with, it sounds like not just yourself but your family, you're quite problem solvers, and if you see like hurdles, you just think, you know what, I'm just going to go right at it, and there's nothing that can stop me from achieving what I want to achieve. But this might be a hard one, but what would you say is the biggest challenge that you had to overcome at the start of your journey?
Wow, that's a good question. I think there are always multiple challenges that you have to overcome, and I think the first one is self-belief, and often, the world tells you that you're not good enough, and especially as not native to this country, it was always, you're not good enough, or you feel not good enough to get that job or get all that rejection.
Yeah.
So I think the importance of self-belief is fundamental, and belief that you can achieve and grow your capabilities and your strengths. And for me, that's been one of the fundamentals of my success, is that I can step into almost anything now, and I know that I can work out what I need to do to achieve success, not only for myself but for others as well. And when you're solving problems, you have to have the confidence to say, whatever the problem is, I'll find a solution. And if the solution isn't obvious, it'll emerge, and have the confidence to recognize it, but not be paralyzed by the fear that you might not. Often go into a conversation or into a problem, they feel like they need to know what the answer is before they even explore the solution, the problem. I like to sit inside the problem, and it's okay to have, and I love problems. The harder, the better. Yeah. and almost like impossible situations. And I have this unflinching belief that the answer will emerge. You just got to keep prodding and poking to find the solution. And you guys will have experienced some of that in your journeys as well. Where one door closes, two doors close, three doors close, and then a big door opens because you've just been persistent, but you've also learned from why the doors closed in the first place. And then that creates a greater opportunity when a bigger door opens, and then you have to have the confidence to go through and explore, even not knowing what's on the other side of the door, and be okay with that. And that's where that confidence comes from. Sometimes a little blind confidence is okay, because if you know about everything that's going to happen to you, well, then you're not an entrepreneur, you're not a risk taker. You have to take a little bit of a risk to have a go. It's like, Blair, I know that you're a go-karter, right? It's like you don't know the edge of traction going around a track until you actually go past it.
It's true, very true. Yeah.
And then every time you go around, you feel for that edge, and you know exactly how far you can take it. And life's a bit like that. You have to push beyond your safety limits, your confidence levels, your comfort levels, to know whether you've reached that limit or not. And when you have reached it, it's okay. Failure is only part of the journey. If you don't slip and fail and go into the barrier, then how do you know that you've reached your limit? Yeah. So for me, problem solving is a fundamental art of successful leadership.
I absolutely echo that, and I love the fact that you mentioned that. You have to be persistent. We always say the Blair Project: be persistent, be determined, and be resilient. Because you know what you're gonna achieve. You're gonna face problems, and you're gonna fail. And I was about to say, take that failure as like a badge. Like, you've done it, and what can you learn from that? So when you take it to, you can speak it to that next customer, or you're working on that next project, you feel like, all right, that didn't work that time, so let me try this way, and you keep trying until you get it. It's like being a scientist. When you're experimenting, you never get it. I mean, you never get it right first time, and if you do, you might not even learn anything if you get it right first time. But it's you just keep going until you get there. And I want to talk about leadership, Zulf, and you've had numerous positions over your career. So you've worked in sales, you've been a sales manager, you've been a business owner, you've been a CEO of a public business, you've been a strategy and board advisor. So in terms of your leadership philosophy, how has it evolved over the years, and what are the key lessons that you would tell people to that you would share that to effectively manage people or lead people?
I think one of the fundamentals is about self-leadership. If you can't lead others, if you can't lead yourself, people talk about this thing, walk your talk. If you can tell people or you can share your skills, but if you don't do it yourself, you're never gonna able to really fully immerse yourself in what you're actually doing. There's a great story about I don't know whether it's true or not, but about Gandhi, and when a mother brought her child who was quite rotund and would eat lots of sweets, and she said, Gandhiji, please will you tell my child, he's going to be ill, he eats far too many sweets, and he needs to not eat sweets because he's ill. And he said, well, come back in 2 weeks' time. So she comes back in 2 weeks' time and he says, we're here. And Gandhiji said to him, son, stop eating sweets. And the lady was a bit gobsmacked. She goes, but you could have told us that 2 weeks ago. And Gandhiji said, 2 weeks ago, I used to eat sweets. And in that is the lesson for us, is that if you don't do it yourself, you can't ask other people. And for me, I've never asked somebody to do something that I wouldn't be prepared to do myself first. And that doesn't mean that I will do the work, is that you have to treat others as you want to be treated yourself in leadership.
Yeah.
And when you work in the professional world where people can choose to work for anybody else, to build loyalty with the people that you work with helps you to become a successful leader, because leadership isn't about just what you do. It's how do you inspire others to do their bit and to be involved in your purpose, and support your vision, and make them feel like that they are a significant contributing part to your success and to their own success. People don't turn up to work just for me to be successful. They turn up to work because they want to be successful as well. And if you can't tap into people's sense of purpose and their ability to grow and evolve, then as a leader, you will always fail. Yeah. So for me, that's the self-leadership. How do you get yourself and elevate yourself to a place where others feel like that they can contribute to you, and how can you make sure that you give enough to them and to support their journey as well, and for them to grow into potent individuals in what they do, tapping into their purpose effectively. The other thing for me is empathy. Empathy is something that I think is we would talk about IQ, intelligence, but very few people talk about EQ, emotional quotient, and recognizing your own failure, your own limitations, because nobody is perfect, and perfection is a fallacy. We all have limitations, and then a good leader knows their limitations and finds people to fulfill the elements that they can't do themselves.
Yeah.
And more often than not, we think that the leader has to have all the answers. What you have to do is facilitate an environment where others can engage and share their skills and their knowledge, and for you to then value them. Yeah. So I'll give you a live example. In my organization, I always say to everybody, go forth and have ideas and make some mistakes. Your first 2 mistakes are on me. Everything is always my fault if it goes wrong. If it goes well, I'll give it back to you the credit. But for the third time, I can't excuse that mistake. If you haven't learned from your mistakes, then I can't be taking responsibility for that. So in that is about leaders taking responsibility for everything. You have to not blame others for the failure of your organization as the chief executive. Yeah. If something goes wrong, even if it's somebody else's fault, it's still your fault. And if you haven't got the courage to accept that, then you're not the leader that you need to be. Yeah. Everything is always your fault. Yeah. Because the book always starts with the chief exec.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 big things. there's more.
There were lots of sound bites of advice that Jamie's going to chop up after this episode, which I think would be really good for young people listening, but even for adults who are thinking, oh, you know what, I'd love to go for a managerial role, or there are lots of good nuggets. Go ahead, Blair.
Do you have a particular memorable success story from your involvement with a startup venture that you could share with us?
I'm advising a number of companies almost on a consistent basis. I'll give you the story of my own son. So my 20 19-year-old son got a place at Manchester University, and said, "Dad, I want to go to university, but it's going to cost £50,000-60,000." And he said, "However, if I go to university, I'm going to leave university with a debt, but I'm going to be educated. What is it that I can learn from university that I can't learn from you, or by doing a business myself?" Which I thought was a reasonable argument. And I really wanted him to go to university. So he said, "Why don't you give me the £50,000? Let us start a business. And I think I'll learn more and I'll be more successful in doing that than I will do by going to university." And, we sat down, we talked about this for a period of time, and we agreed that that was going to be the case. But I didn't just give him the money. I said, "I'll help you buy a business to make sure that you've got a better chance of success." And so we found a business. He got into the garden entertainment business, so bouncy castles, rodeo bulls, and events. And he started that business. We bought it for a princely sum of £50,000. He is now probably the second, if not the largest provider of business entertainment 6-7 years down the road. Him and his brother are involved in that business. Wow. They work, bless them, 3 days a week, and spend 4 days. He's just gone off onto the golf course now. He works really hard, but they have a very short year. They make a good living, and they've been growing almost year on year ever since. And if you compare him with all his friends that went to university, he's head and shoulders ahead of most of them in his career sort of objectives. Wow. So that was a little bit about listening to him and putting my parental sort of desires away for a little bit, and he's achieved some success, and he's now on to building his second, third business now. And he's a bit of a chip off the old block, really. So
I can say, Zulf, we've known you for a very, very long time through Marilyn. Guys used to do a lot together. Even done some stuff working in Africa. And what I've always you've been involved with numerous businesses and even helping businesses with mergers and acquisitions. And we're going through a time at the moment now where we're looking to source investment, and there's probably some entrepreneurs who are looking to source investment, or maybe even sell their business. What has been, if you could take us through the process of an idea into the finished product, and scaling and growing a business, what would you say are some of the key factors in achieving those objectives?
Yeah, I think the first one really is that you have to accept that an idea to conclusion is a myth, because it's an idea is just the beginnings of a thought. An idea then transitions into an action. The action might be to share that idea with somebody else, and how you share it will dictate on how you inspire that person to get on board or not, as the case may be. And as you sort of evolve ideas and thoughts, your self-confidence and your ability to shift from what the original idea was to the thing that might work commercially is really fundamental in all of this. Because an idea doesn't make you money or success. An idea is just the beginnings of the first step of your journey. And a good friend of mine told me once he says if you think plan A will get you the wealth, it's probably going to be plan D, C, or E. So you have to pivot to the thing that emerges as the opportunity. Let's take your journey as on the work. I met your mum, and she was one of my great inspirations. She was doing leadership training. And so you're blessed to have somebody of her skills in your household, right? So a bit like my children, they can come to me and say, "Dad, so what do you think?" And you've got a quality person right there at your fingertips. Yeah. And it's using those skills and asking those questions and being open to what's been shared beyond the parental relationship. And so as you sort of go into that journey, recognizing that actually this door is now closing or is closed, and it's okay. And shifting and pivoting away to the place where the commercial opportunity lies, because business success has to lie with not the idea, but the commercial reality of that success and the work that you need to do to get to that place. And so, and I started a number of businesses, and all of them ended up in different places to where I initially started. And so I think in there is, success only comes with the courage to change.
Yep.
And if you're not prepared to change, then you won't see the success. If you stick blindly to you'll have seen Dragon's Den when, somebody's made a product, they turn up and they spent their life's fortune persistent with that. And everybody's telling them, but hang on, you've sold 2 of them in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
No, but it's a great idea. Yes, it might be a great idea, but you've only sold 2 of them. What they're saying is the commercial reality of that is that nobody's buying this. So there's a reason why somebody's not buying this, because it might be a good idea, but its time might not be right, or you might not have pitched it right. So there's this sense check as an individual, as an entrepreneur, to make sure that you're going down the right journey and not just blindly follow your business plan. Be courageous enough to change your plan as new elements emerge along on your journey.
How easy do you find it, Zulf, to stay updated on emerging trends? Or because with technology, it's always changing and evolving. How easy do you find it?
It's getting harder to keep abreast of what is real and what is not.
There's so many more questions I could ask, but we're coming up to the end of the podcast, so I have to go into the bonus questions. But I think we're going to have to just get you on for a part 2, because, like I said, there's just been so many good gems and nuggets, which we're going to be posting a lot of on LinkedIn. But so 3 random bonus questions.
Sure.
First one is: does pineapple belong on a pizza?
Yes. Absolutely it does.
Zulf, I've loved you for many years, but now,
and I'll tell you why, and I'll put it in a business context for you.
You've got a why. You go, please enlighten me.
Yeah. If you don't try something, how do you know whether you like it or not? And if people that don't try different foods also take that philosophy into life. You might, some of the smelliest things in the world are some of the most tastiest things as well. So, Parmesan cheese on pizza, right? On pasta. If you smelled it, you'd never even try it. But once you apply it, some of the best Parmesan cheese is the smelliest thing in the world. It's like smelly socks. But if you didn't try it, you'd never know the taste, right? So my thing is, try things, test them out. If you don't like them, then you can make a decision that's based on that. And it's okay not to like pineapple on pizza, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good thing for most others that might appreciate it.
I tried it. I hate it. I always take the pineapple. I'll eat the pineapple separately. Now, I'm very interested to find out, if you could have any superpower, what would be your superpower, Zulf?
Superpower. I'm old school. I'd love to fly. I don't know about wearing my pants on the outside of my trousers, but I would love to. I'd love to have Superman's. He's always been, the complete, holistic. He can see through stuff. He's got the strength of a train, and he can fly. Oh my God,
he can do everything apart from when there's kryptonite. When there's a little bit of kryptonite, he's completely under.
Joking aside, I think leaders have superpowers. I think some of those superpowers are not understood, and they're not always understood by the individual. Reading people, the power of reading somebody's mind. If we work at it, we know exactly what people are thinking, because the art of the human condition is something that we have to learn. And as leaders, our greatest tool is the people that are around us. And if you can find a way to tap into who they are, what they're about, what their psychology is, and how you communicate and how you hear, that in itself is a phenomenal superpower that we don't exercise as well. And the most successful leaders in the world have skills in that space.
Yeah.
And there's ways of improving that. So self-development, is all part of that process. the ability to communicate. And more when you were pitching for one of your many sort of awards that you're going for, and the success that you're seeing, to hear you do that and then guide and tweak in the way that you speak and say, to share that communication capability and skill with others, and to grow that, you want to get better and better and better till you can get on a stage and inspire thousands of people by what you say and how you say it. That's a superpower. Yeah, these are not extraordinary things that about stopping trains and bullets and flying over buildings. But these, if you do that well, and you can motivate and inspire human beings, you can create change. And if you can create change, you create a better world. Whether it's your immediate world, or it's your locality, or your city, your town, your country. There's people out there that I really am inspired by, that step up to those roles, in the UN or to be prime minister. I might not like their politics, but it takes courage and conviction to get to that place, and to have the ability to hold an audience of a whole country.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
That you think about it, because it just because a lot of people, I guess, when you bring it up to them, let's say even just getting on stage and just speaking in front of people, it's a lot of people they don't, let's say, have either the confidence, or they might even just think that, this isn't for me. So it's almost like maybe the things that you take for granted that you do in everyday business is just understanding that even there's some people out there that aren't comfortable with that, and you might take it for granted and think, oh, everyone could do this, but it's actually realizing that, you know what, it's not for everyone, and not everyone can do this. So it's just taking a step back to realize that, you've always got this superpower actually that not a lot of people can do.
Yeah.
But these superpowers can be developed, Blair. This is the difference here, is that I think people think that you are either a born leader or not a born leader.
Yeah.
I think, again, you can be trained into a leader. You can evolve and develop your skills. But, you have to want it. You have to put your own time and effort and energy in.
Yeah.
It's not something that can be given to you. It has to be acquired, and it has to be practiced, like everything. And the more you practice, the better you get. The more success you get. The more success you get, the luckier you get. The luckier you get, the more success you get. And there's a lot of luck in all of this as well. If you come across the right person in your life, your career will accelerate. So rather than waiting for luck, go and seek those people, and ask them, say, I love what you do. Can you help me? Can you just give me a bit of your time to just guide me through my journey? And even if it's half an hour every 2 months or something, but just can I just ask you some questions? That curiosity is what entrepreneurship is about. Not what a lot of people think it's. Well, you have to be confident and you have to know all the answers. Be curious for what you can from the people that have already achieved the success that you want.
Yeah.
Love it. And on that note, Zulf, what we're going to do is going to wrap up the end of the podcast. So we're going to turn it round to you. This is your chance to plug yourself, socials, whatever. People want to reach out. They're inspired by this podcast. Take it away.
Well, look, guys, it's been wonderful to spend a bit of time with you. We and often as a leader, I'm on the other side of this equation asking people questions, and it's been wonderful to share some of the things that are locked up in my head and in my heart, really. And so you're doing a wonderful job in pulling this podcast together, and may your success continue and grow. And I'm always there for you guys if ever you need any help and support and guidance. My plug for me is really more to your listeners. If you've got an idea, you're thinking about sort of taking that step, be courageous. Don't resign from your job. Do this as well as your job, because you don't want that additional pressure, and get it to a place where you can get it functional and it replaces your income, then resign from your job. I wish I had the time to respond to everybody that knocked on my door. I don't. I'm a busy guy. I also have a life. But if there's people out there that are in the healthcare space, in the health tech space, that want to work and coordinate with primary care and are interested in developing tech to innovate in our space, reach out on LinkedIn. I'm sure the guys will put my LinkedIn details on. I can't promise I'll get back to everybody, but I'm very interested in people that have got genuine interest in solving problems in primary care for now. But also, I'm interested in innovative technologies that are disruptive. And if I can help in any way, I'll certainly, if I don't know how to help you, I certainly will know somebody that can. And I'm always keen to help entrepreneurs to achieve their dreams and successes. And sometimes I also invest directly as well, if I really, really like something. But thank you. It's been wonderful to spend a bit of quality time with you guys and sharing some of my thoughts. And good luck with the podcast, and maybe invite me back another time.
Absolutely. Most definitely, you're going to be on in a future episode. And then last question before I release you: can you still break dance?
No, but I can still dance. Last time I was at a friend's 50th birthday party, and there was some kids there that were breakdancing. So I jumped in and did my thing. I think, oh, this is good. Did it again and pulled a hamstring and walked off limping. And I was in pain for 6 months. So no, I'm never going to do it again. I'm not going to spin on my head, do a backflip.
Well, I'm going to have to see you dance in the future, though. But anyway, jokes aside, thank you so much for being a guest on the CBBB podcast. And we're definitely going to get you back on a future episode. If you have liked this episode, guys, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this podcast on any platform, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, or Spotify, or share it by text message, WhatsApp. And I'll see you on another episode of CBBB podcast. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.